I wanted to do a live stream and talk about basically how my life has progressed within the last few years of being an owner operator dump truck driver, how my life has changed, what are some of the pros of owning and operating versus some of the cons, if that's the way you see it. So this is basically my experience, my personal experience of then and now, right? So when I say then, what I'm referring to is a time when I was an employee. So 5 years ago, when I was driving truck and trailer tankers for an employer, Big Rigs, and then now being an owner operator, owning my own dump truck and operating my own equipment, and just being a business owner. So I wanted to do, and I'll leave this open to the chat too. You guys can comment in the chat, and I'll try and get to some of the questions in the chat, but you got to bear with me because I'm obviously working. So one of the things I want to touch base on, like right out the gate, is back when I was an employee working for somebody, like me and my wife, we had the strictest budget ever, right? Everything was on paper. If it wasn't on the budget, then we weren't spending the money. And, the purpose for that was because we wanted to save some serious money, right? And we did the budget for 1 year, and we saved every single penny we could, and the most I was able to save was $10,000.
Driver, is this Brook Road good to go up?
Rough road? What? Come again?
How's Brook Road? Is it icy?
Rough road? It doesn't seem too icy.
Good to go up and down that, huh?
If it gets too icy, lift your drop axles. So, okay, so back to my story. So, here's the thing. We had the tightest budget. We could only save $10,000, and that was the most we were able to save in 1 year. Now, fast forward to being a dump truck owner operator of a business that's 5 years old, right? Let's just use the projection, right, as an employee. If I would have stayed being a truck and trailer tanker driver, and I would have stayed on that strict budget, right now I would have $50,000 in the bank, right? $10,000 every year, $50,000, right? Now let's fast forward 5 years. And here I am in my owner-operator business. I'm not going to give you specific numbers, but let me break it down to you. Every single week the business grosses, and this is just with one truck, right? Grosses $6,000. Easily. It's wintertime, I'm still grossing $6,000 a week. Take out $1,000 for fuel, a couple hundred for insurance. I pay myself. I could pay myself roughly at least $2,000 a week, maybe $3,000 a week. That's way more than I ever would have made being an employee for somebody else. Okay, now let's move the conversation to a different aspect. Okay, back before I started my business, my family owned a piece of property. They still own it. It's in Shelton. Everybody knows this that watches my channel. It's all forest. We come there every summer and we would do our family vacation and we go camping, shoot guns, go swim in the creek, you know, light off fireworks, go four-wheeling, you know. So my grandpa had golf clubs. We play, you know, like putt-putt golf in the grass. We'd throw frisbee around, eat marshmallows and s'mores and do all that jazz. But here's what I want you to realize. Every year we'd go down and we would do something to the property. That was my grandpa's every single time he had a goal of getting something done on the property to make it better the next year where we could enjoy it even more, right? And he has this old backhoe. If you watch the channel, you've seen it a couple times in a couple of the videos. It's like a 1950s or 60s Case 530. It's old. It you know, leaks about as much oil and antifreeze as you put into it. You know, it's just super old. Okay? And it's not a very capable machine. Fast forward 5 years to 5 years of business ownership. I own a 2008 Hitachi 50, right? This machine is so much more capable than the backhoe ever could be. Even if it was brand new, it still wouldn't even hold half the capacity of the capabilities. So, business has changed my life in multiple ways. And I see it for the better in every single way. Like, people ask me a lot of times, well, what are the cons of being in a business? Okay, the only thing that I can really think of about being in a business is being in a business as a business owner, you have to force yourself into this feast or famine mindset. And what that means is you have to think in your head, if I don't work, I don't eat. If I don't work, my family don't eat, right? Which you still have to have that mindset when you're working for somebody. You got to think, well, if I don't go to work, they're going to fire me. If I don't perform, they're probably going to fire me. Some of you people, as an employee, you still don't have that mindset, even though you should have that mindset as, you know, if I don't do my job, I'm getting fired, right? In the business, if you decide not to do your job, you just don't get paid. But nobody's going to fire you. You know? If you don't do your job enough, they'll probably stop calling you and they'll call somebody else, right? But it's not the end of the world, right? But when you're an employee, it seems like it's more the end of the world, you know? So I would say, you know, that could be one of the cons is in your head, you have to have more a mentality of, I'm going to go out and get it. You know, a lot of people think of that as a con, like you got to be self-motivated. You ain't going to have somebody there rubbing your back, giving you a massage, saying, oh, you got this, man, go get it. No, nobody's going to be there for you. You got to do it yourself. Which I've always been that guy. Even when I was working for somebody, I preferred the times where I was by myself and I had a list of things to do and I just was able to go and do it. That's when I was an employee, that was my most happiest moments, was when I just had a list. I didn't have to talk to nobody. I could just do my list and get paid. You know, back to when I was a tanker driver, when I worked for Love's, I had a regional manager. I talked to him once a month, once every 2 months, once every 3 months. I don't remember. It was not often at all. It was me and the other drivers. We showed up to work. turned on the screen, logged in, and there was a list of the stops we had to do, where we were picking it up. Boom, boom, boom. Do the work, get paid. Those were the happiest moments of my life when I was employed for somebody. Is when I didn't have to deal with management. I didn't have to deal with coworkers not pulling their weight. Right? Now it's just me. Right? And being a business owner, one of the cons, and it has its perks, but it also has its cons, is when you have employees. Have employees is a great benefit, but at the same time, you got to deal with drama. You got to deal with people not being able to, do problem solving. Sometimes you got to help them decide, Sometimes they just don't want the responsibility, so they want you to decide everything, which, just doesn't really work out in business because you don't have the time to babysit everybody and make all the decisions for everybody, right? So I've explored both sides of the self-employment spectrum where I've had employees, I've worked by myself. I really enjoy working by myself. Number one reason is because I can motivate myself. I have the discipline where I know if I show up to work, I can work 12, 16, 17, 20, 48. I can work as many hours as I decide to in my head. Right? Employees show up, they're working 8 hours. 10, maybe 12. If you're lucky, you'll get guys that'll work 12 hours. Most of them do not want to work more than 12 hours. They got their own lives, their own problems, their own stuff they want to deal with. As an employee, here's one of the other things that's changed. As an employee, your life means nothing to your employer. I'll be honest. I will say that a million times until I'm blue in the face. Every time I had an employer, my personal life always came second to their business in their head. Always. 100% of the time. There's been no exceptions in my business history, in my employment history. And I bet a lot of you guys have had similar experiences where you're like, hey, I got an appointment. Hey, man, you can't go to that appointment. We need you to work. We need you to work. You can't have time off. We need you to work. The business is going to go under if you're not working, or this or that. They're always pressuring you to put off your personal life for their business. Right? Because they're in it to win it. They're in it for the money. My business is no different. When I had employees, I was always trying to push them to give up their life to work to make my dreams happen. That's what business is. It's not bad. It's not evil. That's just what it is, right? You're paying them for their time to make you money. But as an employee, back then, I always felt like, my employer doesn't give a rat's tail about my personal life. If it's my son's birthday, they still want me to work. They don't care whose birthday it is. They don't. And a lot of employers, they don't care whose funeral it is. They still want you to come to work. They don't care who died in your family. We got work to do. They're going to think like that. So, as much as you want to be valued as an employee, you will always be a number. I'm just going to say it. Whether you want to admit the truth or not, that's the truth. You're always going to be a number to them because they're in business. And business isn't about feelings. It's about making money, right? So as an employee, you're always going to be a number. And as an employer, you have to think about the numbers. You can try and, be the decent human being with good morals and everything. And, you will get taken advantage of. I guarantee that. People will take advantage of your kindness. And the numbers will stop working out in your favor. Right? And that's when you're going to have to flip the switch and you're going to have to be the dick. That's what happens in business. If you're the boss, you got to be, the rock sometimes, and they don't like it, but businesses would not be around if, they weren't making money. So, I would say my life has changed from then to now because I decide when my business is more important than my family life and when it isn't. When I was an employee, I didn't get to make that decision. If I wanted to take a month off and spend it with my family, building lasting memories, they wouldn't let me take a month off. You get 2 weeks and that's it. And every weekend, that's all you get as an employee. You get 1 week of vacation and that's it. 1 week out of 365 days, you get 7 days. That's it as an employee. If you're lucky and you've been with the company for forever, you may get 30 days. Out of 365, you only get 30. That don't seem very fair to me. That don't seem right to me. Here's the thing. As a business owner, as an owner-operator now, if I want to take 6 months off and I have the money to do so, I will do it. I will do it 100%. And I have the capability of doing that. As an employee, here's another thing. As an employee back then versus now, the amount of finances I had as an employee, you're basically living paycheck to paycheck, right? You can save up a little bit of money here and there, but most of the money you make is always going to be gone in daily expenses. As a business owner, you get to write those expenses off, and you're able to keep more money in your pocket, right? You got to work harder, but you get to keep more of it, right? And if you don't get to keep it, the business is benefiting from it, so you still get that benefit, right? And here's another thing. As an employee, 98% of the companies you will ever work for, they don't want you using their stuff. Like, for example, when I worked at Big Rigs, right? My coworker, Brian, he's like, hey, the boss guy excavator had whatever, and he was, hey, man, you mind if I, we can get something done over here? Chances are, dude, it ain't happening for your personal stuff. I mean, business owners do not like to give out their work for free, even to their own employees. Me personally, I struggled with that. Why should I be taking my equipment to your place if you ain't paying me? That's how I feed my family, right? So a lot of business owners, they're not going to share their equipment with you, even if you work for them. They say they will, and they might, but it's not going to be, they're not going to just do it like off the rip easy. They're not going to drop whatever they're doing just to help you out as an employee. It don't work like that. I've talked, especially 1,000,000% if you're working for a major corporation. If you're working for a smaller business, it's more likely to happen, right? Obviously, because family-owned businesses, they understand, they're more willing to help you, right? But a major corporation, if I was working for Miles, hey, I'd like to take the dump truck and go get a couple loads of rock for myself. No, can't do it. No. When you own your own business, you're the owner-operator, and you need a load of rock, go get your load of rock. That's how it works. Another thing, right? I personally enjoy, like, photography, videography, all this jazz, making my YouTube videos, putting the content out there. As an employee, whatever business I work for, none of them were going to fund that hobby. None of them. They're not going to pay for my camera equipment. They're not going to pay for a $1,000 drone. But as an owner-operator, I can decide if that is a valid business expense. And I can say, you know what? Yeah, let's do this. And it has side benefits, right? One of the okay, this is something you could consider a con versus then and versus now. But in my mind, I still don't see it as a con, but a lot of people could perceive this as a con. Is when you are an employee, 99% of the time, you know you're going to work and there's something for you to do. 99% of the time, you know you show up, they're putting you to work, right? As a business owner, as an owner-operator, you don't know a lot of times if there's going to be work. So you have to be prepared for it when it shows up. You know? So some people could see that as a con because it's like, well, I don't know if I'm working tomorrow, George. You know? So a lot of business owners end up planning on just, you know, living a little more of a spontaneous life. You know? A lot of my friends ask me, hey, Brian, you want to go out, do a game night or something? I'm like, I don't know if I'm working or not. You know, if I feel like I got my money stacked and it's right, then I don't care if work shows up. I'm doing it anyways. I'll do the game night anyways. But when you first start your business, it ain't like that. You don't get time off the rip to just, you know, go do whatever you want whenever you want. It takes time to build up a business and build the finances to be that way, right? And you can build that as an employee. It just takes so much longer, right? Like back when I was an employee, when I had $10,000 saved, $10,000 was a lot of money for me back 5 years ago. I was like, $10,000 was my life savings, right? A lot of you people don't even know what $10,000 looks like, right? So $10,000 was my life savings. After 27 years, I was 27, I think, right? After 27 years, I had finally saved 10 grand. I had no debt. I had saved $10,000. I was finally, after 27 years, I was finally in a position where I could say, you know what? I don't care about the stupid politics. If I want to leave and go get a job somewhere else, I can do it immediately. And if I have a month off of work, I got 10 grand in the bank. You know, the stress isn't there. Like the burden to perform wasn't there. But it took me a whole year to save all that money to have that feeling of I can make my own choices. I'm not dependent on anybody else. You know, so yes, you can have that sense of independence working for somebody. Chances are, though, it's going to take you longer to get there. And your financial stability isn't going to be as high as if you were a business owner. Like, I personally feel like that, depending on how you run your business. Obviously, you could run your business like crap and have lower financial stability than if you were an employee. I don't know how that would be possible, but I'm sure people do it. Me personally, in my personal finances, I am able to control my spending and get to where I want to be. Your job position will be posted online before your obituary. Yeah, so true. I've never understood why more men and women don't go out and find a way to feed themselves. They'd rather be given what another man or woman decides on what they should be given and what retire. Not sure about that last part, but here's what I think it comes down to a lot of the times. A lot of the times it's people overthink. They overthink and they paralyze themselves. Me, I've taken the more spontaneous route where I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. Because I'd rather live with failure than regret. And a lot of people would rather live with regret than failure. So it paralyzes them. You know, I think that's a big part of it. I think another big part of reasons people don't go after it for themselves, to feed themselves and find their own work and do that thing, is because the people that are around them are people that are so negative. If you tell your best friend, hey man, I'm about to go make $1 million and this and that, he's going to look at you and laugh at you. 99% of the time, I guarantee it. A lot of the people out there, they don't do it because of the people around them are so negative. They're so down. They're so pessimistic. And they think they're realists, but they're really not realists. They're just, the negativeness holds them back. And I'll be 100% honest with you. I was that person at one point in my life. Like, I had so many people around me. I told them I wanted to start a business. Oh, Brian, I don't think you're the business owner type. Oh, Brian, I don't think you'd be that successful because, you know, you can't communicate with people that well. Or, you know, Brian, you hop around from job to job. You don't really have any sort of consistency, you know. Your resume speaks for itself, Brian. You stay at one company for a year and then you're at another company. What makes you think you can run a stable business for 10 years straight, doing the same thing over and over and over again? These are the types of things that come up, and people have to think about it. So, after 26 minutes of me explaining to you why I think ownership is better than being an employee, we got 14, 15 people watching this and 2 likes. Probably no shares. Come on, guys. This is some good content here. This is me opening up about what I really think, you know, the differences are of being an owner versus an employee. And I think this is content that nobody else is putting out there. I think it deserves a like. I think it deserves a share. And, you know, if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on a whole bunch of content like this. It's free to subscribe. You know, the membership is it's like 99 cents a month. Anybody could afford that, you know. And honestly think the content that we put out on this channel is very valuable. You know, the chances that you have to talk to somebody and they're willing to open up like this about then and now are not that great. You don't have access to some business owner who's going to sit here for half an hour and explain to you why business is so much better than being an employee. Now, here's one of the other things I think being an employee has a benefit, but you can also get this benefit from having a business. As an employee, you have coworkers, right? And I experienced this a lot with the last company I worked for as an employee, Big Rigs. We had built this camaraderie of suffrage, right? Like, we were all suffering. And so we had this camaraderie where we were like, yeah, bro, if you need some help, just give me a call, you know, I'll help you out. Or, you know, I'll never forget, me and Brian 1.0, I'm Brian 2.0. We're 2 Brians in the same company. We would sit there and we were suffering together. We would always call each other up and be like, hey, man, at least I'm not on the whipping post today. You know, we were suffering together. There was a camaraderie, you know, that you can have that as a business owner, but it's not the same dynamic because you're the owner, right? And at the end, you're not really like you. I want to say you can't consider yourself an equal. You are an equal, but you can't play like an equal, right? Because when you play like an equal, people take advantage of you, right? So at the end of the day, you gotta make the decisions at the end of the day. So you're not an equal, right? But you have to play like one You know, so you do build a camaraderie with your employees. Like I had a camaraderie with my employees, you know. When I was out there trucking with them, you know, we would talk on the CB and chit chat and small talk and, you know, talk about how life was going and all that stuff. But it just wasn't quite the same as when I was an employee talking to the other guy who's suffering, doing the same thing. You know, we don't want to be here, but we are here type deal, you know. So I would say that's a benefit. That's one thing that people like about being employees is, you know, you get to have that, you know, that brothership. And like I said before, you can develop that as a business owner with your employees, but it's a different dynamic and it's just not the same. It's hard to explain, right? Okay. What about privacy and ownership? Does having a Delaware, Wyoming, Nevada corporation and trust make sense to protect your business assets work? Have you done that yet? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Love it. Been watching since your W2 days. Thanks, Doug from PA. Yeah, I mean, we got lifelong people in here that have been watching the channel since day one. And, you know, if you've watched the channel since day one and you look back at my life from 5 years ago to 5 years now, can you honestly say that my life is not better? My life is substantially better than it was 5 years ago. Substantially. And if I was on the same course as an employee versus the course of business ownership, the two do not even compare, right? In my personal mind. Nope, we ended up selling the Detroit at Richie Bros. Did you work a day job until you got your first load, dump truck loads, or did you take time off in between? Good question, Ricky. So I bought my dump truck in September of 2017. I worked a full-time job every single day after work for 7 months. I worked on the dump truck and did dump truck videos of me working on it. It's in the dump truck playlist. If you click on the channel, you can go check out the playlist and see every single time I worked on the dump truck after work, working my full-time job. So worked 60 hours and then came home and worked on the dump truck. And then I got to a point where I was confident enough that I knew I was going to start a business. It wasn't just a dream. The truck was coming along nicely, and I could tell business ownership was a reality. I could tell it. I could sense it. I could feel it. And I had the nerve and the balls to go to my employee because I thought it was the morally correct thing to do and say, hey, this is in April when I did this. I said, it was like April 20th. I'll never forget in my life. I'll never forget. Even if I get Alzheimer's, I'll never forget this. In April, I said, Aaron, you know, I love working for you. It's been great. You know, I want to keep this going. I want to exit the company the right way, the proper way. You know, I'm doing the right thing. I'm telling you right now. So it's not some big shock or anything like that. June 30th, I want that to be my last day. I want to start my own business. Right? Did my work change from a month before to then? No, it didn't. I was working my ass off. My work did not change. I still gave my all for that company until the last day. Aaron may think differently, but me personally, I do not think my work changed at all. 1 week after I told him that, I was fired. So I didn't have, I did put the word out on the Facebook group that I was looking for a dump truck job, right? Because I did want to get some experience before I started my business. Everybody laughed at me. Everybody told me I was smoking crack. Everybody said it was impossible to make $90,000. Everybody on Facebook, laughed at me, ridiculed me, tried to humiliate me. That's my reality. That's what happened. That's history right there. I got the screenshots and everything to prove it. Right? Man trying to make a better life for his family, what do? Instead of trying to build a man up, they try and cut him down. You want to be better than everybody else, Brian? No way. That's not possible. All the negativeness. This is what I'm telling you. All these people, you think they're your friends, they surround you, they're all negative. They're all negative. All they think is no, it can't be done. No, it ain't worth it. No, I can't do it. I don't have the capacity. No, it's impossible. This, that, whatever. I just ignored them all, man. I ignored it all, and I was like, you know what? I got a dream of being able to provide for my family in a certain way. I'm going to make it happen no matter what, you know? And, you know, I tried to get the dump truck experience. I applied at Randall's, Sand and Gravel. I applied at Silver Streak. I applied at Miles. I applied at Corliss. I did have one job offer in a dump truck. It didn't seem like the numbers were going to play out for me, so I couldn't take that opportunity. Bless his heart, Robert. Thank you for that opportunity, you know. But it was in Tukwila, and I was living in Graham, and that's a 2.5-hour drive just one way commuting for $25 an hour. $3 an hour more than what I was making, but no benefits. So I said no to it, right? The numbers just weren't there for me to do it, you know. I wanted the experience really bad. You know, and that might have been a good job for me to take. You know, I probably wouldn't have made any money. I probably would have been making a little bit less, but I would have got some good experience. But at the end of the day, everyone is going to have a first time for everything, right? My first time dump trucking was for myself, though. It wasn't for nobody else. It was for me, you know? When I started my business, I had zero experience driving a dump truck. And I told the guy, too, that called me up that first day, I'll never forget, 9:30 at night, he called me up, I was talking to him, I said, hey, man, I've never driven a dump truck in my life. I've had my CDL for quite a few years, but I've never driven a dump truck. I don't know any of the pits. I don't know any of the CB channels. I don't know anything. All I know is I know how to drive my truck, and I know how to tip the box up. I can turn the PTO on and lift the lever, right? Unlatch the tailgate. I think the truck is ready to work. Let's give it a shot, you know? And I was in a position because I had been fired. I didn't have a choice. It was sink or float. It was sink or float for me. The boats had been burned. I was storming the island. There was no going back. Right? I would have rather have died than go back to Aaron and say, hey, man, I really need my job. I'm still not ready to start my business. I would have rather have killed myself than do that. And because I was so close, I would have rather have killed myself than go beg somebody for a job till I thought I was ready. Because here's the thing. When you go to start your own business, you will never be 100% ready. There will always be a small doubt or a small little piece of fear in your head that will try and hold you back. And that's what you got to break through that to start a business. You just got to believe in yourself and have the confidence that you're going to go for it. And you would rather suffer the first attempt, the second attempt, the third attempt than the regret of never trying. How did you go about getting your first loads? Okay, first loads. I did a video on that. It's in the frequently asked questions playlist on my YouTube channel. If you just click on my icon, You can go to the playlist, frequently asked questions. Boom, it's in there. I'll just do a quick little overview. When I was getting my truck ready to get on the road, I was talking to everybody about my business. If I talked to anybody, guaranteed I brought my business up in conversation. Guaranteed. I didn't care who it was. I was bringing my dump truck business up in conversation to everybody. I bought some rims off a guy on Craigslist. I'll never forget this. Corey. One cool dude. Really cool dude. I messaged him on Craigslist because he had some steel rims, and I had mismatched rims on my dump truck. And I said, hey, man, trying to get some rims for my dump truck. You know, we worked out those were the right size. I'm like, hey, man, you know, I'll come pick those steel rims up for you. And then when I got there to pick them up, I'm like, hey, man, he was in a neighborhood, right? I'm like, how'd you end up with these? He's like, oh, yeah, you know, I got a dump truck. I'm like, no way, dude. I just bought a dump truck. I'm trying to get my dump truck on the road. You know, it's going to be a few more months. I'm still, you know, buttoning things up, getting things put away, you know, where they need to be. And he's like, oh, yeah, man. When you're ready to go to work, give me a call. I know a few dispatchers. You know, I can call some people up and see if I can get you some work. I said, oh, dude, I really appreciate that, you know. Saved his number. He was one of the 30 people I called that first day that after I got fired. He was one of the people I called and messaged saying, hey, man, I got my dump truck on the road. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to get this done. I'm hitting the ground running. No answer. No answer. 9:30 at night, he sent me a text saying, hey, bro, I got a guy who needs a truck. His name's Pat. I'll have him call you. Boom, Pat called me up. Pat is the funniest guy ever, dude. That guy he should do stand-up comedian. He should be a stand-up because that guy is hilarious. I love that guy. You know? I'll never forget him, and I will be eternally thankful for Pat and Corey. They're both big players in my history, and I'm very thankful for them. You know, whether or not they know it or not, I'm pretty sure they know it because I've told them several times. Put it in several videos. But, you know, that's how I got my first load. And I ended up working. Oh, so here's the other thing. That day that I showed up, that first day that I showed up, or maybe it wasn't the first day. It was maybe the second or third, but it was for the same company, right? Legend Development. Ray is he's an outstanding guy. That guy is, you know, he's made from legends, man. He's the stuff of legends right there. That guy paid me, you know, he paid me the next day after I did the work, which is unheard of in Washington. Nobody's going to pay you the second day. You do the work, you get paid 30 to 45 days later. He paid me the next day, which honestly, that catapulted my business, man. That catapulted it. That allowed me to make it. But the second or the third day, his excavator broke down. And me, I wanted it so bad. This is how bad I wanted to be a good business owner and good everything. I had my button-up shirt, and it was like I was trying to look all professional and everything. I wasn't a t-shirt and jeans guy. I was like, I'm going to wear a button-up shirt. It's going to have my patch says VANDUYN dump trucking on it. I even had, I'll never forget this, I had a pair of coveralls with the VANDUYN dump trucking patch on it in my truck because I'm like, if this truck ever breaks down, I'm putting on these coveralls and I'll fix it right on the spot, right? And so his excavator broke down. It wasn't starting. And, you know, Pat's an owner-operator. I'm an owner-operator. Ray is an owner-operator. He owns the business, right? He's got a couple employees working for him that day. And his excavator was not working. So it was like, okay, we're about ready to get signed out. Nope. Brian to the rescue. I put my coveralls on. I'm like, hey, man, let me help you fix this thing. I got that machine started. I'm like, okay, here's how you just jump it. You take a screwdriver, You arc it across the 2 terminals on the starter. Go. We got that thing fired up. I said, Ray, I know how to start it. I'm not sticking my hand down in there because there's a fan right there and all this. But I'll tell you what, you stick your hand down in there with the screwdriver and you arc those 2, guaranteed it'll start. He did it, started right up. Right? So I went the extra mile to help his business, and he helped my business tremendously. You know? And that's how it works a lot of times in business. You know? You do something for somebody, it comes back around to help you. You know, that's how I got my first few loads. That's how I stayed busy my first whole month. My first whole month, I worked for Legend Development. I didn't have any other customers. And Pat was telling me along the way, he's like, okay, man, the way dump trucking works is while you're working for somebody, realize you're working for them, right? But you still need to be looking for those next jobs that come up because this job's going to end and then you need to have something lined up. You got to stay busy, right? And I wanted it so bad, dude, I never gave up. Every time I met a dump trucker, I put his number in my phone. I was not ashamed to ask for somebody's number, you know? And that was a big proponent in my success as a business owner, is I was not afraid to talk to people. I was not afraid to get people's numbers. And that made my business very valuable because when somebody hired me, they knew they could get another dump truck if they needed it, you know? And that's value. That's adding value without charging somebody, you know. But I'm totally off on a tangent here. We're supposed to be talking about then versus now, like when I was an employee versus now, how my life has changed, right? And you know, here's another thing, you know, and it's not always about the material things. It's not about material things. But back when I was an employee, I didn't have no side-by-side. I didn't have no Harley Davidson. I didn't have no jet boat, right? I didn't have no AR-15. Okay, I had one AR-15. I didn't have the ones I have now. I didn't have my own, you know, nice shop where I could plug in my $3,000. I didn't have a $3,000 welder. I had the $500 stick welder. That was it. I had the $500 flux core welder from Home Depot, from Lowe's. That's what I had. When I was an employee, I never had any of the nice things, any of the cool tools that I could only dream of having. I didn't have any of those, any of them. Would I have gotten them being an employee? Maybe. Maybe I would have saved enough money to buy them. But I'll tell you right now, if it took me $10,000, it took me 1 year to save 10 grand. You think I would have spent $4,000 on a welder for a hobby? $4,000 on a welder that I couldn't, you know, generate some cash flow with? No. But being a business owner, you get to justify a lot more things. And, you know, my life has changed so much. And I'm so thankful for all the people that have helped me on my journey, right? My grandpa, my wife, my mother, God, my cousins, my brother, you know, all the people that I've met. I'm so thankful for all of them, you know, and I've done my best to show my gratitude towards them through my actions, you know, and coming up to my job here. I don't want to miss this entrance. It's been a while since I've been here. They're building a new it's a new gas station. So it was a Pack Pride. Either that or it was some sort of fuel rack where they could top load their trucks. I can't remember. They're doing something with underground stuff. Okay, I know the entrance is coming up here. Don't mind me. I just don't want to be distracted from the most important thing at hand. Oh, There's a transfer trailer. Is there room for me in there? Or should I hit the turn lane? Okay, no response, so we're gonna go for it. Get the four ways and the flashers on. Riot. I think that's who that is. They got some cool trucks. Gotta be honest. Alright. What's that? Oh, that guy's got dirt. He's hauling out. I'm hauling in. Somebody's got a transfer trailer there. It ain't him because he ain't a transfer truck. And I don't see the transfer truck. So here's somebody. How you doing, sir?
Good. For pea gravel?
Yep.
Yeah, so go in the
next entrance.
Card and then back in over there.
All right, got it.
All right, thanks, man.
Yep. All right, gotta go in the second entrance. Wait till the strong arm's put away. Okay. There he is. There's the transfer. That I would not like doing transfer trucks, honestly, man. That finding a place to park and then you got to turn around so many millions of times. You know, if you park your transfer, that just seems like so much work. Thanks for the information, man. No problem, Ricky. Glad you enjoy the content. Thank you for hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and sharing this. You know, I really do try and think about good topics to talk about to help inspire you guys, to help build your motivation and build, you know, that discipline that it takes to make the leap into business ownership, you know, and sometimes I get carried away with stupid, you know, nonsense. Everybody does, right? But anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button on your way out or the down like button. I don't care. Share this on your social media. Share it in the dump truck groups and the self-made millionaire groups and the owner-operator groups. Share it in all the groups you want. And I will catch you guys on the next one.